You're tuning in to Bond First TV. I'm your host, Snake Eye, your favorite blogger. Salute to that notification military. Hit that share, like, and subscribe. And make sure you drop comments for your boy. Let's get right into it. Gunman who killed 3 in downtown Cincinnati, Ohio building identified. Also, the prosecutor on the Fifth Third shooting said this could have been a bloodbath beyond imagination. Let's get right into it. Cincinnati, 4 people, including the gunman, are dead following what police called an active shooter situation in downtown Cincinnati. It happened around 9 a.m. Thursday at Fifth Third Center on Walnut Street, a 30-story building that's home to regional banker Fifth Third Bank Corp and other businesses. Police said the gunman, identified by several law enforcement sources as Omar Enrique Perez, 29, entered the building through a loading dock and made his way to the lobby. Perez shot 5 people, 3 were killed by the gunman. Officials said the 2 others were wounded. Perez was confronted by 4 Cincinnati police officers inside the building, and a shootout commenced. Perez was killed in the shootout. Hey, I got the video for you. I don't like to hold you long. We got a long press conference. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Run it up. Bond First TV. Snake Eye. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we see Chief Elliot Isaac walking over. He has been briefed by Steve Saunders, the police spokesperson. The mayor is there with him and other members of council. There's Amy Murray. The chief is coming up to where the media has been asked to position themselves for this update. A lot of people are going to be asking a lot of questions, and here's the chief ready to give the update right now.
An update of what took place this morning. First of all, we want to definitely keep everyone involved in this tragic situation in our thoughts and prayers. What we know, and this is very, very preliminary, we have just basically completed securing the building, and then we'll be transitioning into the investigative phase of this process. What we know at this point, about 9:10 this morning, a call was received at our emergency communications section regarding shots being fired here at number 38 Fountain Square, the Fifth Third Center. What we know is an individual entered the loading dock area of the building, began firing shots, then proceeded to the lobby area of the building where he was engaged by several of our officers. There were gunshots exchanged. At this point, the shooter is deceased. We also have 5 victims, additional victims that sustained injuries. Of those 5, we have received word that 3 of those 5 are deceased as well. So a very horrific situation. We're in the very early stages of that, and we're beginning the investigative process at this point.
I'm hearing that it was possibly a gunman was a disgruntled employee and that he entered through some sort of back elevator to bypass security.
Confirmed all of that at this point. That will come out in the investigation. We'll be here the better part of the day gathering that information. There are lots of interviews to be done, a lot of crime scene to be processed.
Can you say whether the victims are men or women?
I don't know that.
Officers injured?
No officers injured.
What about the conditions of the other 2 people who were shot, Chief?
We know that they sustained some gunshot wounds. I don't know the severity of their injuries either.
Any idea if they died on the scene?
Did the shooting actually happen in the tower or the 5-story?
It happened. Everything transpired in the loading dock area and the lobby area of the building.
What we tower or the 5-story building?
Of the Fifth Third Center, the tower, just in the lobby area. He did not proceed to the upper floor.
Do you think the victims were targeted as specific?
We have no information that leads us to believe that.
There's a lot of people watching this right now. They don't know what to do. They don't know if they should come downtown. What is your advice to all the people who are watching right now?
We're in the investigative process of this. There's no reason to proceed downtown. We will be notifying next of kin as soon as possible on the victims of this incident. So at this point, we don't believe that there's any additional threat in the immediate area.
Was the weapon recovered?
There's no way to know at this point. There were multiple shots.
Was the weapon recovered?
There was a weapon recovered.
What kind of?
We'll be able to give that information out. I have not seen it personally. I've only been in the immediate area. There's a lot that has to be done before we can.
From a police response chief, if you talk about how you respond to active shooter situations, did everything go according to plan?
What I can say, our officers responded very quickly. They engaged the threat and they neutralized that threat. However, there was some tragedies that did occur. So as part of our protocol, we will conduct a press conference as soon as we're able to, and we'll certainly have more information as it becomes available. We are aiding their exit now. We still have multiple officers, even our SWAT officers are aiding in that process. They will be evacuating the building as soon as they're able.
Did the officer shoot the suspect or did he shoot himself?
We don't know at this point. We believe there was an exchange of gunfire. Whether or not he shot himself as well, I can't say.
The building is in lockdown right now.
It is. We'll be lifting that very soon. We're aiding in those employees exiting.
Are there people still inside the building?
There are still people still inside.
Did they do the appropriate thing and?
It appears that they did.
Taking shelter in place.
Based on what I know, yes, they did.
Chief, this gunman, did he have one gun, multiple guns, and was he in business attire?
I don't know. I don't know that information.
On a normal day, are there officers stationed inside this building?
We have officers that are on Fountain Square, that are in the immediate area. I don't believe there are officers stationed inside of the.
And do we know, was the Cincinnati police that engaged the suspect, or was there security?
We know at least 3 or 4 of our officers did engage this individual.
And I think this is important to get through the clutter. Downtown Cincinnati is safe right now, correct?
Absolutely. Very safe. We had a quick response. Our officers were on the scene. You know, you can't predict what an individual will do, but we respond to those threats. And
were any of the victims dead on the scene?
I believe there wasn't one individual that was deceased here on the scene.
So to recap, the suspect's dead and 3 other people, so
Correct.
4 total?
Correct. That's correct. So we'll have more as it becomes available.
Is this the worst kind of situation?
Of the 2 other people who were injured?
They're still being treated at the hospital. I can't speak to their condition. I don't know.
Was this captured on security video?
I don't know. I believe there is some security camera. We are trying to secure that video, as well as there'll be body cams from the officers that has to be processed. So there's much work to be done very early in the investigative process, and we'll certainly pass that on to you as it becomes available.
Can you reiterate how the officers are?
Cities, it could happen here anywhere. Finally, it happened in Cincinnati. Your comments, your thoughts on that?
You know, these are things that we see happening across the country, and we all have to be vigilant and prepared to deal with these situations. I think from what I see preliminarily, the bank responded with their lockdown procedures, as well as our officers responding to the danger. So we will have more to come as soon as it becomes available.
Security?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. First, my prayers go out to the victims, at least 3 deceased who appear to be innocent victims, 2 more that are suffering in the hospitals. So we send our prayers to them. We don't know their names or their identities yet. The second thing is the heroism of the police and firefighters standing behind me. It appears that the police were there within seconds, literally, from the time they got to the lobby. Apparently there were shots below, and then he moved up to the lobby. So he was actively shooting innocent victims, it appears, and our officers were able to kill him and stop the threat very quickly. So we could imagine this situation being much worse than it was. So it is also the case that our police and our first responders, firefighters, EMT were here administering and trying to save lives very quickly and moving people out of the building. And so our first responders have done a heroic job today, and it's important to remember just how dangerous that job is. And thank God they were able to remove the threat.
I mean, there's been some conversation about this could have spilled into Fountain Square, and then who knows what could have unfolded?
It clearly is horrific, but it clearly also could have been much worse.
The fact that we've seen this in other cities, but we just pray it doesn't happen here. And today it happened in your city.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I mean, this is not normal, and it shouldn't be viewed as normal. This is abnormal. No other industrialized country has this level of active multiple shootings on a regular basis, almost on a daily basis. I think there's something deeply sick at work here, and we as a country have got to deal with it. As the chief said, downtown is safe. This specific threat has been removed. We'll all be down here, with the chief's leadership, with the lowest crime rate in 10 years. So we're as safe now than we were, without this. But at any given time, in any place in this country, because of what's happened over the last several years, people just are engaged in these active shootings, which is grotesque. And I think we all, in my opinion, all solutions need to be on the table.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
About who all is involved: Homeland Security, FBI, obviously.
Yeah, just before this, the governor called, offered all available support. The FBI's on the scene, ATF, et cetera. We're getting all the help we can get from the federal and state government, but what we need as a community is to figure out, not just a community, but as a country, is how to end these multiple mass shootings that seem to be happening every day.
Councilwoman Murray, can we ask you on that front?
Yes.
As a more conservative council person, the issue of guns in America, guns in Cincinnati, your thoughts? I know it's certainly an issue that conservatives tend to say don't touch our guns for a variety of reasons, but when it happens so close to home, what does that say to you as you contemplate that debate?
When it happens anywhere, it's breaking our hearts. On behalf of all the council members, we are so sorry, and just praying for the families that are going to have to deal with this today. We need to look at everything. There's a lot of mental illness out there that needs to be taken care of, and we've, moved in other directions. So I think we really need to focus on mental illness and try and do whatever we can to prevent this.
Not that you don't have any information that this was a person with a mental illness.
No, but some of them that we see are mentally ill, and so that's a huge number of people in these mass shootings, and so we need to do whatever we can to help those that are mentally ill and to try and prevent any of this. And our hearts and prayers, thoughts just go out to all of the people that are involved today. And thank you to our police and fire for their quick response and preventing it from being even a greater tragedy.
Well, and you probably know people who work inside that building. I'm sure you do too, Mayor. When this first was reported, what went through your minds?
Well, my dad worked in this building for many years. Whenever I'm down here, I usually grab a cookie or at Cervati's or something at Grater, so it could have been any one of us. It's frightening.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? The reason why this is so significant is because Fountain Square, you crisscross before you go into the office. You go get some donuts, you go get some coffee, maybe a sandwich. So it could have been much, much worse, correct? Had it not been for the quick response of the police.
If it hadn't been for the police, we're all, in some ways, you guys know more about this than we do, because our officers are securing the building, making sure everybody's safe in the building, and haven't started their official investigation. But what you guys are reporting is, from witnesses who saw it, that it does appear that there was some random shooting involved, that it wasn't just a dispute between two people. And so this strikes me as a multiple shooting of innocent victims, horrific, grotesque, unacceptable, a sickness. And, it's happened in cities across the country far too often, in schools, in movie theaters, in nightclubs. And, we got to deal with this as a country, and it's happened now here.
Are you going to be reaching out to mayors of other cities that have dealt with this problem? Since this is a problem we haven't seen in Cincinnati, I've never seen police presence in my 20 years covering the city.
Well, we're actively involved already with the mayors across the country. In fact, I'm the chairman of the Mayors and Police Chief. Chief Isaac and I serve on the Mayors and Police Chief Task Force of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And dealing with multiple shootings is a consistent theme. Candidly, well, I don't want to get into all legislative issues, but the power of cities to regulate guns has been dramatically reduced over the last 20 years.
Looking for clarification on UC's release said that there are 3 victims that are still in the hospital right now. Chief Elliot Isaac, you mentioned 2. In their release, they say that 1 is in critical, or 2 are in critical and 1 is in serious condition. Just looking for a clarification on that.
How many
that's the information that I've
I guess is the question. We have the shooter, and how many fatalities beyond that, citizens?
We believe we have 3, plus the shooter.
And you say we believe at this point?
We believe.
Okay.
We believe. This is the information that's being conveyed right now to us.
The mayor made a reference to the fact that the police killed the suspect, but I'm not sure that you said that. Do we want to say, is that something?
What I say is that's not something that I can say.
Okay.
The coroner has to confirm that. So what I can confirm is there was an exchange of gunfire between our officers and the suspect.
Chief, can you talk about how your officers
and it's also clear that the officers got there very fast and saved God knows how many lives.
Are there officers stationed in that building? How do they respond so quickly? Were they on Fountain Square?
We're going to wrap the press conference up. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
We're going to provide you more information.